The unexpected summons. Ethan Clark was no stranger to long hours. His lab at New Horizon Technologies buzzed with activity, a hub for developing innovative tech intended to push humanity's boundaries. Today, however, felt different. Ethan was in his office, examining an anomaly in his most recent project, when a faint blue light began to pulse above his workstation. He blinked, expecting it to be a glitch in the system, but as the light grew stronger, an unusual warmth began to spread through the room. Just as Ethan reached to hit the emergency alert, the light enveloped him completely. He barely had time to process the strange sensation of weightlessness before his surroundings changed in a blink. Gone were the familiar walls of his office. Now he found himself standing in a vast, unfamiliar chamber. The walls glowed a soft, silvery blue, pulsating gently like the heartbeat of some ancient creature. "Welcome, Ethan Clark of Earth." The voice, both melodic and commanding, echoed around him. Ethan turned, his breath catching at the sight before him. A tall figure stood at the far end of the room, with skin the color of a soft twilight sky and hair that shimmered like silver stardust. She was dressed in elegant robes that seemed to flow like liquid around her, and her eyes, an ethereal shade of violet, locked onto his with an intensity that left no room for doubt. This was someone of immense power. Who are you?" Ethan stammered, quickly assessing his situation. His gaze darted around the room, scanning for exits or anything familiar. But his instincts, honed from years of survival training, told him there was no escape. Not yet. "I am Princess Seraphine of the Litharians," she replied, a slight smile bracing her lips. "You are here because you have been chosen for a mission of great importance, one that may determine the survival of our people." Her words settled over him like a weight. He swallowed, struggling to grasp the situation. "I think there's been some kind of mistake. I'm just an engineer, not an interstellar diplomat." "There is no mistake," Seraphine replied, her tone steady. "Your genetic code contains unique traits that our scientists believe could stabilize our own faltering DNA. For centuries, the Litharian people have faced genetic degradation, and now we stand at the brink of extinction. You are one of the few humans whose DNA has shown potential compatibility with ours. You may hold the key to our future." Before he could respond, two more figures emerged from the shadows. Both were younger, clearly of royal blood like Seraphine. The taller of the two had a regal air about her, with deep indigo hair and eyes that matched her mother's commanding violet gaze. The other, shorter with a cascade of soft, silver curls, watched him with open curiosity and a spark of mischief. "These are my daughters," Seraphine introduced, Princess Lyra and Princess Naya. "Hi there," Naya said, giving him a warm smile. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Ethan. We've heard a lot about Earth and its people." Lyra, however, regarded him with a cautious gaze. "Are you certain he's the right choice, Mother? This human looks unremarkable." Ethan couldn't help but smirk at her skepticism. "Not every human's worth is measured by appearances," he replied, his voice steady despite the surreal situation. "And I'd be careful underestimating a human. We tend to surprise even ourselves." A flicker of approval crossed Seraphine's face, and she gestured for him to follow. "Come, we have much to discuss, and time is not on our side." As they moved deeper into the heart of the alien ship, Ethan marveled at the sheer beauty of the vessel. The architecture was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Silvery walls that shimmered with energy, floors that pulsed beneath his feet like living organisms, and the faint hum of an unknown power source running through it all. They arrived in a room filled with holographic displays of planets and stars, the heart of Litharian command. Seraphine motioned to a large screen showing Earth and explained, "We've observed humanity for centuries, waiting for the right moment to establish contact. We hope to find a peaceful solution to our crisis. Many humans were analyzed, but you, Ethan, stand out due to your resilience, adaptability, and unique genetic markers." Ethan looked at the screen, stunned by the weight of her words. "And you think my DNA can somehow save your people?" We believe so, Lyra answered, though her tone was still skeptical. Our scientists have determined that your genetic code contains dormant sequences that, when activated, could stabilize our DNA. We require a human willing to join our genetic pool, one who possesses the qualities needed to face an extraordinary task. Hold on, Ethan interjected, rubbing his temples as he tried to make sense of the whirlwind around him. Are you asking me to reproduce with? Naya's amused laughter interrupted him. Oh, Ethan, we Litharians are more advanced than that. Our scientists can combine genetic material without such primitive methods. This mission is about compatibility, resilience, and cooperation. We want to work with you, not demand anything. Her words eased his tension somewhat, though the enormity of what they were asking still weighed on him. Ethan studied Seraphine and her daughters, reading the mixture of hope and desperation in their expressions. Despite the mystery surrounding the Litharians, he could tell they were sincere, genuinely struggling to save their people. So, what happens if I refuse? He asked quietly, his gaze never leaving Seraphine's face. The princess's expression hardened slightly. We would not force you, Ethan. We Litharians have long revered free will and autonomy. However, should you choose to decline, I fear we have few alternatives left. Our people's fate may be sealed. A silence settled over the room as Ethan considered his options. His instincts told him to run, to return to the safety and predictability of his life on Earth. But as he looked into their eyes, Naya's curiosity, Lyra's guarded hope, Seraphine's dignified resolve, he felt a tug deep within him. They needed him, truly and desperately. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his decision settle over him. All right, he said, his voice firm. I'll help you, but I have conditions. I want full transparency, and I want to know everything about this process. No secrets, no hidden agendas. Seraphine inclined her head in acknowledgement. Agreed. We will be as open as our traditions allow. Naya's face lit up with excitement, while Lyra's expression softened, a flicker of gratitude crossing her face. They exchanged glances, relief visible in their eyes. The fate of an entire civilization now rested on the shoulders of one human. Ethan could only hope he'd made the right choice. Then come, Seraphine said, leading him toward a doorway glowing with a soft, golden light. Your new life with us begins now, and there is much to prepare. Our future depends on what lies ahead. As he crossed the threshold, Ethan felt a shiver of both anticipation and fear. His journey into the unknown had just begun. The genetic revelation. Ethan was escorted through the gilded halls of the Litharian vessel by Naya and Lyra, the sisters moving with a natural grace he could only describe as otherworldly. The ship was alive with a hum he could feel beneath his feet, a rhythm that matched the cadence of his own heartbeat. His mind raced, still grappling with the enormity of his decision to help these strangers and the potential consequences of failing them. Where are you taking me? He asked, attempting to sound composed. The alien sisters shared a glance, a silent communication passing between them that made him feel like a curiosity under a microscope. To our central research chamber, Naya explained, her tone bright with enthusiasm. If you're to help us, it's only fair that you understand the stakes. Lyra nodded, though her gaze remained fixed on the path ahead. We need you to see the extent of our people's crisis. You may not fully understand yet, but by the time we're finished here, you will. They stopped before a doorway that glowed with a pulsating light. Naya touched her hand to the door's control panel, and the entrance slid open soundlessly. The room beyond was immense, filled with equipment that looked both futuristic and eerily familiar. Holographic screens displayed intricate models of DNA strands, and walls covered in shimmering data interfaces formed an alien language Ethan had no hope of decoding. In the center of the chamber stood Princess Seraphine, her gaze focused on a large holographic display hovering in front of her. As they entered, she turned and beckoned them forward. The image before her shifted to reveal an intricate strand of DNA. This, Seraphine began, gesturing to the hologram, is the foundation of Litharian life. As you can see, it's deteriorating. The strain of our long existence has destabilized our genetic code, leading to a decline in vitality, reproduction, and immunity. Ethan stared at the display, the visual distortions in the DNA strand becoming more evident the longer he looked. But how does my DNA help? You said it has something unique, but what exactly is it? The princess pointed to a segment on the hologram that glowed in a vibrant blue. Humans possess a resilience in their DNA, a remarkable adaptability that allows for rapid evolution under extreme conditions. While other species mutate over millennia, your kind has adapted significantly over just centuries, evolving to face nearly every environmental challenge your planet has thrown at you. This adaptability may be what we need to counteract the instability in our own genetic structure. Lyra stepped forward, her tone clinical. Your genetic code contains several dormant markers that we believe, when activated, could mend our DNA. By combining these sequences with ours, we hope to stabilize the degradation, potentially ensuring our survival for generations. Naya, ever the more empathetic of the sisters, softened her tone. Our ancestors tried similar methods with other species, but none were compatible. Humans are the first to show promise. If this works, Ethan, you could save our people. A chill ran through Ethan as the full weight of their predicament settled over him. Here he was, an engineer with a penchant for problem-solving, suddenly cast into a role he could never have anticipated. And if it doesn't work? Seraphine's face remained impassive, though a hint of sorrow crossed her eyes. Then we may face extinction within a generation. Silence hung between them, broken only by the soft hum of the machinery. Ethan looked at the three women, seeing the weight of their hope and desperation etched into their features. They were staking everything on this one chance, and somehow he had become the linchpin of their survival. "All right," he said, his voice steady, "then let's figure out how to make this work. But I'll need guidance. There's only so much I can do without understanding your technology." A brief smile softened Seraphine's features. "Of course, Lyra and Naya will assist you, and I will make our resources available. We must proceed with caution, but I have faith in our combined knowledge." Lyra inclined her head, though her expression remained skeptical. "We'll start with preliminary compatibility tests. We'll need to map every strand of your DNA against our own to ensure the integration is seamless. This is uncharted territory for both of us." Naya, already eager to begin, took his arm and led him toward a sleek, chair-like device covered in lights and sensors. "This is the biomolecular scanner. It will map your DNA on a cellular level, highlighting any potential matches with ours. It's completely painless. Well, mostly." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Mostly." She grinned, her mischievous glint returning. "There may be a slight tingling sensation, just don't think about it too much." He chuckled nervously as he took a seat. Lyra adjusted a series of controls on the device, and with a quiet hum, the machine sprang to life, casting a warm, blue glow over him. As he settled into the process, a sense of calm overtook him. Perhaps it was the culmination of days spent in uncertainty or the overwhelming stakes of the mission, but he felt a quiet determination grow within him. So, he began, directing his question to Lyra, who watched the scanner's readings with rapt attention. "How exactly does this process work? You'll just splice my DNA with yours." Lyra's gaze flicked to him, her tone clinical. "Not exactly. The process is more akin to a gradual infusion. We're going to isolate specific sequences within your DNA and introduce them slowly into our population, measuring their effects on a cellular level before scaling up. It's a delicate balance. We can't simply replace our DNA with yours." Naya chimed in, leaning over the scanner with evident excitement. "We're also incorporating nanobio interfaces. Tiny, self-replicating nanobots will ensure your DNA integrates smoothly into ours, maintaining stability and boosting adaptability. It's cutting-edge technology, even by our standards." The scan continued, each beep and hum revealing new layers of data. Ethan found himself captivated by their knowledge, their hopes pinned on the outcome of each test and analysis. After what felt like hours, the machine finally powered down, and Lyra stepped back, studying the results with a mix of concentration and curiosity. "There are matches," she murmured, her voice laced with surprise. "More than I expected, but it's still preliminary. We'll need to run more tests to be certain." Seraphine, who had observed silently throughout the process, stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "Then we proceed. For every moment we delay, we lose more of our people to this crisis. Ethan, I cannot overstate the importance of your willingness to help us. You have already given us hope, and for that, I am deeply grateful." The sincerity in her words struck Ethan, filling him with a sense of purpose he hadn't anticipated. Here he was, on a ship light years from Earth, with 3 alien royals depending on him for survival. Despite the odds, despite the daunting nature of the mission, he felt an unshakable resolve taking root within him. "I'll do whatever it takes," he said, meeting each of their gazes in turn. "For as long as I'm here, I'll help however I can." Seraphine nodded, her voice gentle yet firm. "Then let us begin. The path ahead will not be easy, but together we will face it." As they left the chamber, Ethan felt the full weight of his mission settle upon him. This was no longer just about survival, it was about building a future. With each step, he steeled himself, prepared to meet whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that his courage and ingenuity would be tested in ways he could never have imagined. Into the heart of the Litharians, Ethan found himself escorted through a maze of corridors by Naya, her soft voice filling the quiet space as she explained the various functions of the Litharian vessel. The ship was not only a transport, it was a marvel of Litharian culture, acting as a sanctuary, a laboratory, and a living entity for those aboard. Its vastness stretched beyond his ability to fully grasp, and he sensed a history and purpose in every corner, as if the walls themselves carried the weight of millennia. As they moved, he became acutely aware of how advanced and intertwined the Litharian technology was with their natural ecosystem. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with energy, and he noticed small clusters of glowing flora nestled in alcoves along the hallways, providing ambient light and a faint, comforting warmth. Naya led him into an expansive, domed chamber filled with lush greenery. Exotic plants spiraled up from the floor, and a soft, golden light bathed the room, emanating from crystals embedded in the ceiling. A gentle mist hung in the air, giving the space an ethereal quality. "This is our biolab," she explained, gesturing to the myriad plant species surrounding them. "Much of our technology is bioorganic. We harness natural processes to power our systems, grow our structures, even repair damages. For us, science and nature are two sides of the same coin." Ethan's curiosity was piqued. "And this bioorganic technology, it's what you hope to use in merging my DNA with yours?" "Yes," Naya replied, a smile of encouragement lighting her face. "But it's more than just technology, it's a philosophy. We believe that all life is interconnected, and our approach to this crisis reflects that belief. Our scientists will use living cells to gradually introduce your genetic sequences into our own. It's a delicate balance, and even the smallest error could cause complications." As she spoke, he noticed her enthusiasm for the subject. Her passion for science and her people's survival was evident in every word, making him feel the depth of their mission on a personal level. He admired her optimism, a trait that balanced Lyra's more guarded nature and Seraphine's dignified restraint. The conversation was interrupted by Lyra, who had entered the biolab quietly, her gaze directed at Ethan with a glint of determination. "Ethan, I hope you're prepared. We've made some advancements based on the initial compatibility scans. We'll need to move forward with the first trials soon." "Already?" he asked, taken aback by the urgency in her voice. "There's no time to waste," she replied. "Our people on Lithara are growing restless, and they're desperate for any hope we can offer. If this trial works, it could be the breakthrough we need to stabilize our entire population. But if it fails," her voice trailed off, the unspoken consequences hanging heavy in the air. Ethan's gaze drifted toward a holographic screen displaying their DNA simulations. The hologram glowed softly, depicting strands of Letharian DNA interwoven with segments of his own. The contrast between the two was stark, his Earth origin sequences appearing like jagged waves compared to the smooth, symmetrical lines of the Letharian code. He could tell that blending them wouldn't be straightforward. "So, how exactly does this trial work?" he asked, feeling both excitement and apprehension building within him. Naya leaned in, her expression thoughtful. "We'll begin by introducing your genetic code to a set of bioreplicators. These machines simulate a Letharian cell environment, allowing us to observe how your DNA responds. If it integrates without destabilizing, we can move forward. If it doesn't, we'll return to square one and assess." Lyra's expression softened, a rare moment of vulnerability slipping through her composed exterior. "You don't have to do this, Ethan. We have protocols that would allow us to use alternative methods, though they are more invasive. If you're uncomfortable—" "I'll do it," Ethan interrupted, his resolve unwavering. "If there's a chance this will help, then it's worth the risk. I didn't come all this way just to turn back at the first challenge." For the first time, Lyra smiled, a genuine look of appreciation in her eyes. "Then, let's proceed." They guided him to a console near the center of the biolab, where a sleek, metallic seat waited. He took a deep breath and settled into it, feeling the cold metal press against his skin. A dome lowered over his head, and within moments, he was surrounded by a panoramic view of swirling data and holographic projections. Naya's voice filtered in through the speakers, calm and reassuring. "The bioreplicator will analyze and interact with your DNA, creating a simulated cellular environment to observe potential integration points. It might feel strange, but there's nothing to worry about." He gave a nod, and the machine hummed to life, sending a gentle warmth across his body. He felt a faint tingling sensation, like the prickling of static electricity, as the device began its analysis. As the minutes passed, he watched the holographic display intently. A strand of his DNA floated within the hologram, slowly weaving into a segment of Letharian genetic material. He felt his pulse quicken as the sequences began to merge, forming a complex, intertwined structure. His DNA was becoming part of something larger, something almost magical. Suddenly, a high-pitched beep filled the air, and Naya's voice broke through. "We're seeing integration at a cellular level. The DNA strands are beginning to bond, but there's a slight instability." Ethan tensed as he noticed the flicker of red in the hologram, indicating a flaw in the merging process. "Is that dangerous?" "We anticipated some instability," Lyra replied, her voice steady. "But if it continues, the trial could be compromised." Ethan watched as Naya adjusted the controls, trying to stabilize the connection. He could feel the device reacting to her commands, the warmth intensifying as the machine worked to balance the merging sequences. The red flicker gradually faded, replaced by a soft green glow indicating successful integration. "It worked," Naya said, a note of relief in her voice. "The initial trial is a success." Lyra exhaled slowly, the tension in her posture easing. "This is the first step, but it's promising." Ethan looked around the room, meeting the gaze of each woman. Despite the risks, he felt an undeniable sense of accomplishment. For the first time, he realized just how much he had invested in their mission, how deeply he cared about their survival. The Letharians were no longer strangers. They were allies, friends, people he felt compelled to protect. As they exited the biolab, Seraphine met them in the corridor, her expression filled with restrained hope. "And how did it go?" "The trial was successful," Lyra confirmed, her voice filled with satisfaction. "But there's still much to do. This is only the beginning." Seraphine placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, her gratitude evident. "Thank you, Ethan. You've given us more hope than we've had in centuries." Echoes of trust. The days that followed Ethan's successful trial in the biolab were a whirlwind of activity and discovery. Each morning, he awoke in his luxurious suite within the royal palace, the soft blue light of the ship filtering through translucent curtains. The atmosphere was a blend of comfort and high-tech sophistication, designed to make him feel at ease despite the gravity of his mission. Ethan spent his mornings collaborating closely with Naya and Lyra, delving deeper into the complexities of Litharian genetics. Their knowledge was vast, but Ethan's human ingenuity provided fresh perspectives that even the most advanced Litharian scientists had overlooked. Together, they worked tirelessly, driven by the shared goal of saving an entire civilization. One afternoon, as the ship sailed smoothly through the stars, Ethan found himself alone in the palace gardens. The lush, bioluminescent flora created a serene environment, with flowers that shimmered in hues of violet and teal. He wandered along the winding paths, contemplating the challenges ahead and the bonds he was forming with his alien hosts. A gentle rustling caught his attention, and he turned to see Princess Naya approaching, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the garden. She walked with a grace that seemed almost effortless, her presence calming. "Ethan," she greeted warmly, a genuine smile on her face. "May I join you?" He nodded, gesturing to the space beside him on a bench made of living wood that adjusted its shape to accommodate their seating. Of course. They sat in comfortable silence for a few moments, the sounds of the garden creating a peaceful backdrop. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "Naya, how long have the Litharians been struggling with this genetic crisis?" Naya sighed softly, her gaze drifting to the glowing petals of a nearby flower. "For centuries, our ancestors were proud and resilient, always pushing the boundaries of our knowledge and capabilities. But over time, the continuous advancements without balancing our genetic integrity led to unforeseen consequences. Our population began to decline, and with it, our ability to thrive." Ethan listened intently, appreciating the depth of their plight. Is there no other solution besides integrating human DNA? Naya shook her head slowly. "We explored numerous avenues: genetic engineering, cloning, even seeking alliances with other advanced species. But none provided the stability we desperately need. Humans, with your unique adaptability, offer a glimmer of hope we haven't found elsewhere." Ethan pondered her words, feeling a mix of determination and empathy. "I want to help, Naya. If my DNA can make a difference, I'm committed to seeing this through." She reached out, placing a hand gently on his arm. "Your dedication is inspiring, Ethan. It's not just about survival, it's about preserving the essence of who we are. Your willingness to assist us speaks volumes about your character and humanity." The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Princess Lyra, who joined them on the bench. Her presence was more reserved, yet there was a softness in her demeanor that hadn't been present before. "I hope I'm not intruding," she said, taking a seat beside them. "Not at all," Ethan replied. "We were just discussing the situation." Lyra glanced between Ethan and Naya, her expression thoughtful. "I've been reviewing the latest integration data, and the results are promising. However, we need to accelerate the process to meet our timelines. The longer we wait, the more our situation deteriorates." Ethan looked at her, sensing the urgency in her tone. "What needs to be done?" "We need to expand the trials," Lyra explained. "Increase the number of integration points and monitor the stability across a larger sample of our population. It's risky, but time is not on our side." Ethan felt a surge of determination. "Let's do it. Whatever it takes to save your people." Naya nodded in agreement. "We will need additional resources and support, but with your help, we can make significant progress." As they spoke, a soft chime echoed through the palace, signaling the arrival of Princess Seraphine. She entered the garden gracefully, her presence commanding yet gentle. "Good afternoon, everyone," she greeted, her violet eyes meeting Ethan's with a hint of warmth. "We were just discussing the next steps," Lyra said, gesturing to Ethan. "Ethan has agreed to help us accelerate the integration process." Seraphine smiled, a rare and genuine expression that softened her regal demeanor. That's excellent news. Your contribution is invaluable, Ethan. Together, we can overcome this crisis. Ethan felt a swell of pride and responsibility. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. Seraphine approached him, her gaze steady. There is something else I'd like you to consider. While the genetic integration is crucial, we also need to ensure that our society remains stable during this transition. Human ingenuity is not just in genetics, but in problem-solving and innovation. Your skills could help us develop new technologies and strategies to support our population. Ethan nodded, understanding the broader implications of her request. I'd be honored to assist in any way I can. The princesses exchanged glances, a silent agreement passing between them. Welcome to our mission, Ethan, Naya said softly. Together we'll forge a new path for the Litharians. As the afternoon sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the garden, Ethan felt a deep sense of purpose. He wasn't just an engineer anymore. He was a pivotal figure in an interstellar effort to save a civilization. The challenges were immense, but with the support of Seraphine, Naya, and Lyra, he felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. That evening, as the ship glided through the vastness of space, Ethan sat in his suite, reflecting on the day's events. He thought about the resilience of the Litharian people and the trust they had placed in him. It was a heavy burden, but also an opportunity to make a meaningful impact beyond anything he had ever imagined. A soft knock on his door broke his reverie. He opened it to find Lyra standing there, her expression more relaxed than usual. "May I come in?" she asked. "Of course," Ethan replied, stepping aside to let her enter. She took a seat across from him, her eyes searching his face. "I wanted to talk to you privately. I've noticed how hard you've been working and wanted to ensure you're coping with everything." Ethan appreciated her concern. "It's been intense, but I believe in what we're doing. It's hard not to feel the pressure, though." Lyra nodded thoughtfully. "We all carry the weight of our mission, but your presence has brought a new energy to our efforts. Your ability to think outside the box has already made a significant difference." He smiled, feeling a connection deepen between them. "I'm just trying to contribute in the best way I can. Your guidance has been invaluable." There was a moment of comfortable silence before Lyra spoke again. "Ethan, I know this is all new and overwhelming, but remember that you're not alone. We're here to support you, just as you're supporting us." Her words resonated with him, reinforcing the sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. "Thank you, Lyra. That means a lot." As she stood to leave, she paused at the door, offering a sincere smile. "Rest well, Ethan. Tomorrow is another day filled with challenges and opportunities." Ethan watched her go, feeling a renewed sense of determination. The path ahead was uncertain, but he was no longer walking it alone. Together with the Litharian princesses, he was ready to face whatever trials awaited them, driven by the unwavering belief in humanity's capacity to overcome even the most daunting obstacles. Later that night, as Ethan lay in bed, the ship's gentle movements rocking him into a light sleep, he couldn't help but marvel at the journey he had embarked upon. From an ordinary engineer to a key player in an interstellar mission, his life had changed in ways he had never imagined. But with each passing day, he grew more confident in his role, inspired by the resilience and hope of the Litharian people. As the stars outside his window twinkled like distant beacons of possibility, Ethan drifted into dreams, filled with visions of collaboration, innovation, and the unbreakable spirit that defined both humans and Litharians alike. The echoes of trust and friendship he had forged with his alien allies promised a future where creativity and determination would triumph over adversity, lighting the way toward a new dawn for both civilizations. Shadows of doubt. The morning sun bathed the royal palace in a warm golden light, casting long shadows across the bioluminescent gardens. Ethan woke with a sense of purpose, the events of the previous days still fresh in his mind. The successful trial in the biolab had ignited a spark of hope, but he knew the road ahead was fraught with challenges. As he prepared for the day, Ethan reflected on his growing relationships with Princess Seraphine, Naya, and Lyra. Each interaction had deepened his understanding of the Letharian people and their plight. Their resilience and unwavering determination inspired him, fueling his commitment to their mission. Yet, beneath the surface of cooperation and camaraderie, he couldn't shake a lingering sense of unease. After breakfast, a sumptuous spread of alien fruits and nutrient-rich dishes tailored to his human physiology, Ethan was summoned to the council chamber. The vast room, adorned with shimmering tapestries and intricate holographic displays, was where the Letharian leaders convened to discuss critical matters. Seraphine stood at the head of the table, her violet eyes meeting his with a mixture of expectation and concern. "Ethan, thank you for joining us," she began, her voice calm yet authoritative. "We have made significant progress, but there are emerging challenges that require your expertise." Ethan took a seat, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "I'm here to help in any way I can." Naya and Lyra followed suit, taking their places beside their mother. The atmosphere was tense, a stark contrast to the earlier days of hopeful collaboration. Lyra stepped forward, her expression serious. "Our recent integrations have shown promise, but we've encountered unforeseen complications. Some of our genetic sequences are reacting unpredictably when combined with yours. This instability threatens to undermine our progress." Ethan frowned, absorbing the gravity of her words. "Unpredictable how? Are we talking about minor fluctuations or something more severe?" Seraphine interjected, her tone measured. "At this stage, we're observing both. Some cells exhibit enhanced resilience and adaptability, which is positive. However, others show signs of degradation and malfunction. It's as if the integration is selectively benefiting certain aspects of our DNA while hindering others." Naya leaned forward, her eyes searching Ethan's for answers. "We need to find a way to stabilize the integration process. If we can identify the factors causing these inconsistencies, we can adjust our approach accordingly." Ethan took a deep breath, his mind racing through possible solutions. "Have we considered environmental factors within the biolab? Perhaps the conditions under which the integration is taking place are affecting the outcome." Lyra shook her head. "Our environmental controls are optimized for bioorganic processes. They've been tested extensively. The issue seems to be inherent to the genetic interaction itself." Ethan pondered for a moment before speaking. "What if we introduce a phased approach to the integration? Gradually increasing the interaction between our DNA sequences could allow us to monitor and adjust in real time, minimizing the risk of destabilization." Seraphine nodded thoughtfully. "It's a plausible solution. Implementing a phased integration could provide the necessary control and adaptability we need." Naya added, "We can also utilize our nanobio interfaces more dynamically, allowing for real-time adjustments based on the data we collect during each phase." Ethan felt a surge of optimism. That sounds like a viable plan. It will require precise coordination and constant monitoring, but it could mitigate the risks we're facing. The council members exchanged glances, a silent agreement passing between them. "Then it's settled," Seraphine declared. "We will proceed with your phased integration strategy, Ethan. Your insight has been invaluable." Ethan nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "I'm glad I could help. Let's get started as soon as possible." As the meeting concluded, Ethan felt a brief moment of relief. However, his sense of unease returned when he noticed a shadowy figure lingering at the edge of the chamber. The woman stood partially hidden behind a column, her presence barely noticeable unless one looked closely. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, fixed on Ethan with an intensity that sent a chill down his spine. After the council dispersed, Ethan approached Seraphine, who was engaged in a quiet conversation with Naya. "Excuse me, Princess," he began, gesturing discreetly toward the shadowed figure. "Did you notice that woman standing there?" Seraphine glanced in the direction he indicated, her expression unreadable. "Yes, Narissa. She is a member of our advisory council, but she has always been somewhat distant. Why do you ask? Ethan hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. I just felt, watched, like she's not entirely on board with our mission. Seraphine's eyes darkened slightly. Narissa is known for her critical perspective. She believes that integrating with another species compromises our genetic purity and cultural integrity. Her opposition has been a constant undercurrent, but she's never acted overtly against our plans, until now. Naya placed a reassuring hand on Ethan's shoulder. Don't worry too much about her. We've dealt with her skepticism before, but your instincts are valuable. We should keep an eye on any developments. Ethan nodded, feeling a mixture of concern and determination. I'll stay vigilant. If there's any tension or opposition, I want to know about it immediately. As the day progressed, Ethan threw himself into refining the phased integration process. Working alongside Naya and Lyra, he combined his engineering expertise with their advanced genetic knowledge. The trio spent hours poring over data, running simulations, and adjusting the parameters to optimize the integration. During one such session, Lyra approached him with a holographic tablet in hand. I've mapped out the initial phases based on your suggestions. We can begin with a low-intensity integration and gradually increase it as we monitor the effects. It's a slower process, but it should reduce the risk of destabilization. Ethan examined the data, nodding in agreement. This looks solid. Let's proceed with this plan. As they initiated the first phase, the biolab hummed with activity. The nanobio interfaces adjusted in real time, responding to the subtle changes in the genetic integration. Ethan watched the holographic displays, his heart racing with anticipation and hope. Hours passed without incident, the initial integration showing promising signs of stability. The trio exchanged relieved glances, knowing that this was a crucial step toward their goal. However, just as they began to celebrate their progress, an urgent alert flashed on the main console. A red warning sign indicated a significant anomaly in one of the integration points. Lyra's expression turned grim as she reviewed the data. We've got a problem. One of the cells is degrading rapidly. It's outside the acceptable parameters. Ethan sprang into action, his mind racing to identify the cause. Let me see if I can isolate the issue. He scanned the data, tracing the anomaly back to a specific genetic sequence. It looks like there's a mutation occurring in the Letharian DNA, where it interacts with a particular segment of mine. It's causing the instability. Naya frowned, her brow furrowing in concentration. We need to recalibrate the nanobio interfaces to counteract that mutation. If we can neutralize its effects, we might prevent the degradation. Ethan nodded, quickly adjusting the settings on the console. I can modify the integration algorithm to create a counteracting sequence. It should help stabilize the affected cells. As he worked, Seraphine entered the chamber, her presence adding a layer of urgency to the situation. What's the status? We've encountered a mutation in one of the integration points, Ethan explained, his fingers flying over the controls. I'm working on a solution to counteract it, but we need to act fast. Seraphine approached, her eyes focused on the holographic display. Time is of the essence. If we don't address this now, it could jeopardize the entire integration process. Ethan glanced up, meeting her determined gaze. I've adjusted the algorithm to include a counteracting sequence. It should neutralize the mutation and stabilize the cell. Naya monitored the changes, her fingers deftly manipulating the controls. Initiating the new sequence now. The room held its breath as the modified algorithm took effect. The holographic displays began to stabilize, the red warning signs fading as the system regained control. After tense moments, the alert disappeared entirely, replaced by a steady green glow indicating stability. Ethan exhaled deeply, feeling the tension drain from his body. It worked. The mutation has been neutralized. Lyra let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding, her expression softening with relief. Excellent work, Ethan. That was close. Seraphine offered a rare smile, her eyes filled with gratitude. Your quick thinking saved this phase of the integration. We couldn't have done it without you. Ethan felt a surge of pride and relief. I'm just glad we could resolve it. But we need to be cautious moving forward. This was a warning sign that there are still unpredictable elements in the integration process. Naya nodded in agreement. Absolutely. We'll continue monitoring closely and make adjustments as needed. Each successful phase brings us closer to stabilizing our genetic structure. As the team settled back into their work, Ethan couldn't help but reflect on the day's events. The near disaster had reinforced the importance of their mission and the delicate balance they were striving to maintain. It also underscored the necessity of trust and collaboration between humans and Litharians. However, the shadow of Narissa's skepticism loomed over them. Ethan knew that internal dissent could threaten their progress, and he resolved to stay vigilant against any attempts to undermine their efforts. Later that evening, as the ship glided silently through the cosmos, Ethan sat alone in his suite, contemplating the delicate dance of genetics and the intricate web of alliances and tensions within the royal palace. The stars outside his window seemed to whisper of endless possibilities and the boundless potential of cooperation between species. A soft knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. He opened it to find Narissa standing there, her expression inscrutable. "May I have a word?" she asked, her voice steady yet carrying an undercurrent of tension. Ethan nodded, stepping aside to let her in. "Of course, please have a seat." She took a seat across from him, her eyes never leaving his. "I wanted to speak with you directly, Ethan. I've been observing your progress, and while I respect your dedication, I have concerns about the long-term implications of this integration." Ethan listened intently, maintaining his composure. "I understand your concerns, Narissa. It's a complex process with many variables. But I believe that with careful monitoring and adaptive strategies, we can achieve the stability we need without compromising our integrity." Narissa studied him for a moment, her expression thoughtful. "You're optimistic, and I admire that. But optimism alone won't solve our genetic crisis. We need to consider all possible outcomes and prepare for contingencies." Ethan nodded, appreciating her perspective. "Absolutely. That's why I'm here, to work together and find solutions that benefit both our people. Your insights are valuable, and I hope we can collaborate to address these challenges." She regarded him for a moment longer before nodding slowly. "Very well, Ethan. I will continue to monitor the integration process closely and provide any additional data that may help us refine our approach. But know this, I will not hesitate to voice my concerns if I believe we're veering off course." Ethan felt a flicker of respect for her unwavering commitment. "I appreciate that, Narissa. Constructive feedback is essential for our success. Together, we can navigate these complexities." As Narissa left his suite, Ethan felt a renewed sense of determination. The path ahead was uncertain, but with allies like Seraphine, Naya, Lyra, and even skeptics like Narissa, he was confident that they could overcome the challenges and forge a new future for both humans and Litharians. Under the vast expanse of space, the royal palace continued its silent journey, a beacon of hope and resilience. Ethan Clarke, once an ordinary engineer, had become a pivotal figure in an interstellar mission that transcended species and galaxies. With each passing day, the bonds he formed with his alien allies grew stronger, united by a shared purpose and the unyielding belief in humanity's capacity to adapt, innovate, and thrive against all odds.